Hello, so this is just a very quick episode that I wanted to do. Having started all my research and planning and being fairly new to this world, there's a lot of terminology and there's a lot of short phrases and things that people just don't fully explain sometimes. So I just wanted to go through a few things that I've found come up quite often. So the first one, just going to go through in alphabetical order, is CDU, capacitor discharge unit. This is it's an electrical device which you can use to provide power for operating point motors. They produce like a short, intense burst of electrical power, which gives an initial boost to the motor and ensures that the blades of a point are moved from one side fully to the other. The other thing this will do is will eliminate any buzz that you get from using traditional point motors when they change. The next one going on from that is Electro Frog and Insel Frog. They're two different types of points which are branded by Pico as their sort of trade name for it. The Electro Frog is a point where you can wire it up to a point motor, mainly using DCC. And it will allow the point and the frog of the point to automatically change polarities. There are other videos out there in more detail explaining it, so I won't go into too much detail, just so you know the terminology when you hear it. Electro Frog is the one that will change the polarities of the frog, and the Insel Frog is, by the key of the name, insulated, which means that the frog is not powered. Next one is Fiddle Yard. You probably know what that is, but just when I first heard it, I was like, "Oh, what's that?" It's basically it can be a hidden area or an unscenic area of a layout, which contains sidings and runaround loops and lines. It's where you can store your trains when they're not being used, so you haven't got to handle them. It's where they can be rearranged, coupled up, uncoupled, changed around, and it's effectively it represents the rest of the railway. So the bit that isn't seen in your layout. So obviously I mentioned when I was talking about the Electro Frog and Insel Frog, you're thinking, well, what's the frog? The frog is the part of the point where the two diverging rails meet in a V. So you can get dead frogs, which means that they're electrically insulated and they've got little bits of plastic. That's the Insel Frog. And you can get the live frogs, the Electro Frogs, where the whole frog is metal and it's electrically live all the way up to the tip. Again, probably another obvious one, points and turnouts, and point blades as well. You probably know what they are. These are literally, to give its exact definition, a special piece of track that allows a train to move from one line to the next. And they're called points or turnouts. And then obviously the point blades, or sometimes known as switch rails, they're finely tapered rails which make change from one side of the rail to the other, which allows that train to move from one line to the next. Next one is Scenic Break, which sounds pretty obvious, but it is literally, it's a part of the layout where your trains disappear from view into some other section. So it can be literally as simple as just a hole in the back scene, right the way through to a tunnel through a mountain. It's at some point where your scene is the train runs through it and disappears, and it's the end of that scene, and it will re-emerge into another scene, basically. A tie bar. This is it's a metal rod in real life, but in model form, it's normally sort of plastic or some sort of material similar, and it's literally a bar that joins the point blades together, and it moves them simultaneously from one side to the other. So when we spoke about the point blades earlier, it is a bar that holds those point blades in a fixed position, distance from each other, so that when they move exactly together. And lastly, wire droppers. Bit confusing when I first heard them. I was like, what? but it's literally is a wire that drops from your track through the baseboard and goes on to some form of power bus, which I'll touch on in a minute. So you've got a wire on each side of the rail, they go down and they tap in to the power feed. So it's a way of hiding the of getting power to your track rather than using sort of the track connectors. You can literally either solder them on to the rails themselves or the rail joiners, and they drop through, hence the name wire droppers. That then leads me on to a power bus, and that is literally the feed that comes out the back of your controller, either DC or DCC, and it goes one wire positive, one wire negative, and that runs underneath your layout all the way through, and it doesn't need to sort of terminate at the end. They can just be an unconnected wire at the end. Obviously make sure it's sort of safe and sealed up. Then what you do is the wire droppers drop through, and the one that is for the positive rail connects into the positive wire of the bus, and the one that's a negative rail drops through and connects onto the negative wire of the bus. So I know that I haven't gone into very much detail at all, because if you want to search out for what one of these things are individually, there are lots of videos out there which do go into great detail explaining them much better than I can. I just wanted this video to be a quick glossary of terms or the terminology, just so that when you hear these things you at least know what they're talking about when it's sort of mentioned in a passing comment. If there are any other terms that you can think of that I've forgotten, or that you think I should be covering this, please drop a comment below and I will do my best to answer them. Cheers, bye bye.